Welcome to Wholesale Hotline, where we cover everything to do with wholesale real estate. I'm Jamil Damji.
I'm Brent Daniels.
And I am Pace Morby.
And together we cover the most important parts of wholesale real estate.
Lead generation.
Conversion of sellers into contracts.
And dispositions. Guys, remember when you're watching this show, do us a favor and squad up in the comments.
Make sure that you are liking and subscribing to the YouTube channels and in the Facebook group Wholesale Hotline.
Most important, we want to know we're doing a great job for you and helping you build your business. So go give us a review on iTunes and or Spotify.
So squad up and enjoy the show! Hello, welcome to Wholesale Hotline. I'm your host today, Jamil Damji. Brent Daniels, Pace Morby, Jerry Norton are all away today, so it is just me. And I'm so happy to see you guys, happy to be here. Happy Labor Day, and congratulations for being one of the few who shows up, comes out, gets it done, does their best. I think this is the greatest community that I've ever been a part of, and I'm excited to answer some questions. So if you guys have any wholesale real estate related questions, market related questions, anything at all, you can put those in the chat and I'm going to be happy to answer them. Unfortunately, Bobby, the link that I do have doesn't allow me to put any comments on, or the link that I came on. I don't know what it is. So Bobs, if you're still backstage, I'm going to need your help in getting the questions on the screen because I can't do it. So there you go, guys. Put your questions in the chat. I was just at Burning Man, for those of you who are not aware of that. Incredible time. It was one of the hardest things I think I've ever had to do in my life. It is very difficult to go out there. And so that was a lot of fun. And I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about what makes me tick, the things that drive me crazy, and the things that make me feel alive. So I'll probably talk about that more on one of my Sunday Mindset YouTube live streams. So make sure you guys join me for that in the coming future. This coming Sunday, I will talk a little bit about the things and the insights that I learned. So if you guys are at all interested in learning about that, I will happily answer. So yes, Bobby, hopefully you were able to catch what I said. If there's any questions, guys, throw them up on the chat. There he is. What's up?
Hey, we got some questions.
Yeah.
First of all, we got to know, how was Burning Man?
Well, there we go. First question. How was Burning Man? Burning Man was amazing, Ingrid. I absolutely loved and hated it at the same time. One of the things that I can say was one of the very remarkable for me was how people will have the ability to be their genuine, authentic self. I mean, I saw some of the weirdest, and I mean weird by convention, right? Weird by like our normal societal conventions. I saw some incredible people just express themselves in the most unique way and do it without any shame, do it without any weird feelings or judgment. They just were their authentic selves, and that was incredible for me. It was incredible for me to see that. It was incredible for me to see human beings be their best selves to one another. It's a community of around 80,000 people who converge on Black Rock City. It's not a real city. It's just in the middle of this barren desert. And you have to take care of yourself and each other with no money. So there's no money exchange there. You barter, you give, and you receive. So you have to learn how to give. You have to learn how to receive. And those are things that are difficult, especially in entrepreneurship, right? Oftentimes we feel like our resources are limited. And when you're in a place like that, especially after what happened last year where people got stranded, you really have to think about the contents of your heart and your capacity to share, your capacity to give to other people without scarcity in your mind or scarcity in your heart. And that is extremely hard to do until you learn and actually exercise that muscle and become a go-giver. And so it was beautiful for me to be able to see that in others and myself. And then in addition to that, to receive, especially in entrepreneurship, again, it's tough for us to receive sometimes. We feel like we need to do it all on our own, or we feel bad about asking people for help or asking people questions. And that can also be a real problem in our development as entrepreneurs. And so I think, those two at least, they shine out for me as massive examples of things that I learned. And I think the last thing that I'll touch on here is just my ability to show up. I mean, for real, I am not a labor guy. Like, I don't do manual labor. I went early to help set up camp, and then I stayed to take it down. And I got to say, that sucked. It's not me. I'm not a builder like that. People mow my lawns for me. And I've just been that, the kind of person who has just had other people do that kind of work for him. And I had to show up. I had to I couldn't hide. I couldn't pretend like I needed to be on a call or whatever. Those are things that I've done in the past to get out of doing heavy lifting. And I couldn't do any of that because there was no cell reception. There was nowhere to hide. I had to go and do the work. And I really did the work. And so as much as that was not super fun, it was incredibly powerful to show myself that I could do that kind of thing. And so, those three things, there was a ton of other stuff that I can talk about, and I'll talk about that more on my Sunday mindset call. But yeah, those are the three major insights that I took away from it, and it was pretty dope.
Next up, where can I send my deals for assignment?
Well, Wise loves to buy. I would love to know more about where your deals are. So if you have a deal in one of the Keighley markets, we're in 100 major markets across the United States. One of my franchises or my corporate stores would be happy to work with you. So you can send me a DM, and if it is in one of my Keighley markets, my team will connect you to the relevant people. But also you can network with people in the chat. There are an incredible there's an incredible community that's all working together, complementing one another, collaborating with each other, and helping each other do business. And a lot of them connect with each other in the chat of this actual stream. So connect with people in the chat, ask questions, share information. Let us know what market your deal is in, because that's a big deal, a piece of information, at least for us to know. But happy to help you out.
I like this one that just came in. Where would you say we are in the real estate cycle?
Ooh, great question. So Joe Gonzalez asked, where are we in the real estate cycle? Well, here's my thoughts on it, right? I think right now we're in this really, really special position where things are going to start to really heat up. You guys have seen that activity has already really, really heated up since we have heard from the Fed and the rates are dropping. That is creating a subsequent drop in mortgage rates. So mortgage rates are the lowest they've been since the peak of 2022. And that is exciting. That is really exciting. Buyers are able to qualify for more home now. Their payments are going to be reduced. There's just lots of activity and there's pent up activity right now. Here's one of the things that is interesting for me to note is that inventory hasn't spiked, right? There was, if any of you guys are on my Instagram, I got into it a couple of weeks ago with a guy who said, the market is going to crash, right? He said in August that the whole real estate market was going to crash and burn. This is one of the top real estate agents in Chicago. So I can, I don't want to be rude or anything. I'm pretty sure that individual knows a lot about real estate, and I'm sure he's a really great guy. You know, out of fun, I made fun of his suit because it was really tight. And I think that it restricted blood flow to his brain, because he really did believe that the real estate market was going to crash because real estate agents didn't understand how they were going to be able to communicate how buyers agents should be paid their commission. Now, to me, I think that's just a complete misreading of what's happening in the real estate market. It's a misreading of people and their ingenuity and their capacity to adapt. It's a misreading of where the market is in terms of inventory and buyer activity. And guess what? The market didn't crash. Not only did it not crash, it is hot. It is hot, 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 hot. And it's going to heat up even more with more buyers coming to the table as rates continue to drop. I think wholesaling right now, again, wholesaling is always really, really good. I think wholesaling is going to continue to be extremely powerful. People are going to be selling more deals than less. I think that if you had a lean 2024, this next year will be really, 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 really good. I don't think it's going to be as good as it was in the interim of like end of 21, beginning of 22, when you could just sell anything because the market was that crazy. I don't think we're going to be into that kind of craziness, but I do believe that we are definitely going to have some increased buyer activity. I think that pricing is not dropping. It hasn't dropped, and it's continuing to remain either stable or increase. So that's where we're at. We're in a very robust market with a lot of pent-up buyer activity. So if I'm you, which I am, I'm one of all of you, I'm a wholesaler, I'm a real estate investor, and I am bullish on my purchasing right now. So, and you can talk to my team. My team will confirm I've purchased 3 homes in the last few weeks because I'm absolutely bullish on what's going on. So not only am I telling you guys this, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm actually entering into deals and doing business, flipping homes. I had stopped flipping for a minute because I was worried about what was happening with interest rates. I was still wholesaling, but I was holding back on actually fixing and flipping, and I'm in fix and flip deals right now. That's how strong I believe the coming 2 quarters are going to be for fix and flip, wholesaling, and real estate in general.
Michael D says, how do you connect with Sub2 members? Need some help getting started.
Oh my goodness. Well, there's a couple of ways that you can connect with Sub2 people. One of the ways is in the chat that you're in right now. There's a tremendous number of Sub2 family members here that would love to work with you. There's also a really great Facebook group that Pace Morby has created. It's called Creative Financing with Pace Morby. It's an incredible group. A lot of Sub2 members are in there. Happy to help people. I would say that's probably your best resource is the free Facebook group. Bobby, if you have opportunity to, could you put a link to that Facebook group in the chat? But I would say that that's where you should go to look to find some Sub2 members. And then last but not least, join Sub2. If you've got the resources to go into Sub2, go do it. It's like one of the most incredible communities of creative finance investors that exists on the planet. I think it's the best community. It really is. They're incredible human beings there. They're doing real business. And, you know, they're learning from the best in the game. So if I'm you, I would absolutely join Sub2 if you have the money and you want to learn creative finance. There's not a better person to learn from, or not a better community to be a part of. And just so you guys know, I'm not the leader of Sub2. Okay, I'm the leader of Astro. And I'm telling you this with full honesty and you know, the love, knowing that you are making a phenomenal decision being a part of that community. So that's what it is.
So I put 2 in the chat. There's one for just general creative finance, and then one for Sub2 public group. It says private on it though, so I think you still have to like join, but it's for the public.
Beautiful. Thank you, Bobs. Hey, can we all give Bobby a shout out for his clean appearance? I don't know if you guys have noticed here. Bobby has, like, I don't know, he got some tapering done on the beard there. His hair is all, He's Hot Bobby again, guys. For a little while, he went to Hamburger Bobby, and now he's back to Hot Bobby. You know, just a haircut did it.
You're Hot Jamil, dude. Burning.
Hey,
You're
hey.
burning Jamil.
Thank you.
I can't wait to hear more about it. All right, so let's see. Ed says, when you're doing a hybrid deal, when do you have to start paying the seller?
Okay, well, I imagine Ed is talking about seller financing and a sub-2 deal. Is that what you mean, Ed? I don't do a lot of creative finance myself. That is definitely a Pace Morby question. But my understanding would be the same time that your first payment would be owed to the bank, unless you have created that second note with other terms, right? Exactly. Here's what Ingrid said. That's what I thought. So if you have negotiated a start date of, you know, next year, the beginning of next year, then you would start making that payment then. The payments to the lending institution are going to be due immediately. You're going to have to start making those payments right out the gate. On the seller finance portion of it, that's where you have a negotiation opportunity, and you can, you know, structure it so that it's deferred for an extended amount of time so that you have excess resources to do renovations or any of the other things that you're looking to do.
Prosperity Today says, is propwire reliable?
I believe so. I've got people in the Astro community that are using propwire. Jerry Norton is one of my best friends and one of the best in the business. And I don't believe that he would have a tool that is anything but reliable. So I would say absolutely. Now, here's the caveat. My personal team, we're just getting onboarded and learning and using propwire. So I'm a new user of it. I can't give you, you know, my full rundown on it, but expect that it's coming. Expect that I will be doing that, because I do love looking at new technology and seeing where there's opportunities for us to do better in our business. But again, you know, Jerry Norton, he ain't no schlep, right? He's the flipping genius. And so I would say it's going to be pretty goddamn reliable.
You're darn tootin'. This guy's got the best username in the chat. Marcellus Wallace. You know what that's from?
No.
Pulp Fiction.
Oh, heck yeah, bro.
Beautiful name, Marcellus.
Beautiful name. Marcellus Wallace asked, what are the legal requirements to wholesale in California? Well, right now, you're going to need to disclose, right? At the moment, you're going to need a disclosure, and you're going to need to disclose the assignability, but you don't require a real estate license. And so California is still really, 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 really open. You can wholesale without any, you know, needing to go get your real estate license or a wholesaler's license, or having to double close the property isn't required. So California is still really, 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 really good. And I don't expect it to change. I really don't. I think that the cities or the states that were going to implement the regulations that we've seen have pretty much, they've kind of crested. Now, look, maybe Jerry and I might have a difference of opinion here. I think he sees it more of a domino. Like, he's seen, you know, some of these states take action, and he feels like it might be, you know, a domino effect, that within the next 5 years that more states than not will have restrictions. I don't believe that. I don't believe that we're going to have that kind of a situation. I do think there are going to be a handful of states that you're going to need to double close in, or you're going to need to use transactional funding, or you'll need to have a real estate license. So there are going to be some states like South Carolina where that's just the reality. But I don't think that's a reason to not do business there. I think that if you are in one of those states, which California is not, Marcellus, just to confirm again, but let's just say you're in South Carolina. I think that if you're in South Carolina and you want to wholesale, these are the two things you need to do. You need to, A, know your freaking numbers. Okay, get really good at comping, get really good at knowing where you need to buy at. And if you guys are, by the way, if any of you guys are unsure of what percentage of ARV you need to buy deals at or contract deals at in order for them to be a viable wholesale deal, there is a function in Privy that will tell you that. I'm actually doing a masterclass this coming Monday at noon PST right over here on my YouTube channel. So mark this down, guys. We're going to be doing a lot of things on the masterclass. First is going to be showing you how to find buyers. I'm going to be teaching you guys how to really evaluate on-market deals. We're going to be showing you guys how to find the percentage of ARV that you need in order to have a viable wholesale opportunity. And we're going to be showing you how to connect with real estate agents. So all of you guys that have a Privy membership that aren't using it to its fullest, make sure you show up. Make sure you come and learn all the things that you need to learn in order to use Privy at its best. And if you're one of those people that had Privy and maybe canceled it, come and learn what you could have been doing, or what maybe you didn't know how to do, and see what it is all about, right? See the real value that's there, and then make an informed decision, not just one where, you signed up for it and then you're like, well, I didn't really use it. Or if you're using a prop stream or a batch leads or something, come suss out Privy for what it does in relationship to what PropStream does, right? And then decide which of those two tools is best for your business. That's why I think it's really important for people to open up and see the value in all of the resources that you can use Privy for. So it's a 4-hour masterclass, and I'm just doing it for free on my YouTube channel. So again, guys, that's Monday, September 9th at noon Pacific. If you're not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, Bobby's going to put a link in the chat. He already did, but he'll put one more in there. Just come onto my YouTube page, subscribe to my channel, and show up. It's free. There's no sell. There's nothing for you to buy. I'm telling you, I'm going to be using Privy. So of course I'll have a Privy link in there. But just come to learn the masterclass and see what it's all about.
All right, this one's kind of quick. Michael D, I can answer this one. Who would let me participate in a deal start to finish? You did this is the place to do it. So find somebody in these comments. I'm sure somebody would love to help you.
Nice answer, Bobs.
Thanks, dog. I've been around the game for a while.
Look at my co-host, the Wholesale Hotline with Hot Bobby over here. He's got all the answers. Big Dave Bangs. He just said, I moved to North Carolina. I have an LLC in New Jersey where I moved from. Can I use that LLC here, or do I need another for North Carolina? Can I keep using the one in New Jersey for doing deals there as well? Big Dave Bangs. Great question. Here is what I would say. You should have a new LLC in North Carolina if you are planning to wholesale in North Carolina. I don't think that it is wise for you to use an out-of-state entity in another state. That is just going to complicate your deals. It's going to make your escrows complicated, and also it's going to make taxation complicated. So I would say that your best bet would be to get a North Carolina LLC and use a North Carolina LLC for deals that you're doing in North Carolina, and then use your New Jersey LLC for deals that you're doing in New Jersey. And so if you're saying or asking, can you still use your New Jersey LLC even though you don't live in New Jersey? Abso-freaking-lutely. I have an LLC in Florida. I have an LLC in California. I have an LLC in Delaware. I have an LLC in Arizona. And I only live in Arizona, well, mainly. So yeah, it doesn't matter where you live. It's where you're doing it. Your entity is doing business. Remember, your entity and you are not the same. Right? Your entity is its own thing. That's why entities have their own credit. That's why entities have a birthday. That's why entities have all of these things that are required of them, because they're legal entities. They're separate from you. And the only way that they become you is if you pierce the corporate veil and screw up something like commingle finances. So don't do anything like that. But
did you say how many you have? How many LLCs do you have?
I've got, I don't know right off the top of my head how many I have.
It's common to have a bunch or like several LLCs.
Yeah, I've probably got somewhere in the line of 15-ish LLCs.
That's it. Big flex.
All right.
Virtually wholesale from any state because I want to make 10x deals. Ha.
Oh my God, Carlos Laredo, what a great question. How can you virtually wholesale from any state? Well, I believe that since you're on Wholesale Hotline tonight, you have internet. And it looks like you have a device that you can use the internet from. So 50% of the battle is already there. Second thing that you need, Carlos, is a telephone, one of these beautiful instruments. And then other than that, you just got to learn what's going on in that market. So you can virtually wholesale from any state. You can do that. I have people that are wholesaling in India. We've got folks that are wholesaling deals in the United States, in India. We've got deals, Astro people from South Africa wholesaling in the U.S., people from Israel, living in Israel that are wholesaling in the U.S., people living in Canada that are wholesaling virtually in the U.S. So you can absolutely do that. You really, again, just need to have market knowledge, which if you join any of our communities, you'll learn, either free or our paid mentorships. There's just so much value. You can learn how to do a virtual wholesale deal start to finish watching many of the videos that I've put on my YouTube channel. And so, Carlos, I think one of the things that you need to understand in being a virtual wholesaler is the market that you're moving into, how to connect with buyers out there, and what they're looking for with respect to the type of properties and deals that you're trying to get. And once you have a good understanding of that, and then you learn how to comp, so learn how to value those properties, the sky's the limit for you, brother.
Boom. Since we're on Carlos, we'll go to his next question. Can I get EMD from a company that pays for EMD?
Yeah, that's called a Gator lender. So, Carlos, if you have not yet met any Gators, I would, again, suggest to network in the chat, because there are many, many, many Gators in the chat with us today. If you are a Gator in the chat and you are in the business of lending earnest money, then let Carlos know who you are. And Carlos, there you have it. There are your Gators. You can connect with any of them. They would happily lend you money for your deals.
And when you're done here, there's Facebook groups galore. When I Google Gator lending Facebook group, there's specific ones for each market at this point. So there's a whole network out there that you can tap into.
Beautiful.
All right. How can I flip if I have almost no money? At least it's almost.
Yeah, Alpha Boogie. The same way that I was flipping when I had almost no money. You wholesale, and you really don't need access to money to wholesale. You got to have some education, though. You got to learn. You need to know what to do. You need to understand the contracts. You need to understand the numbers. You need to understand the terminology. You need to understand what potential is, right? Because that's what we're looking for when we're wholesaling properties, is potential. How can we increase the potential of a property and sell a portion of that potential to another investor for a profit? And once you understand that, Alpha Boogie, you will absolutely be able to flip a property with no money. It's really that simple.
It's a pretty funny name to just say in the middle of a sentence.
I know.
I understand that. Alpha Boogie.
I do it for people who listen to this on the podcast when they're driving. I just think, they'll be like, oh yeah, Alpha Boogie. That's funny.
Okay, here's another interesting name, Charbove. Hey, Jamil, what is a good formula to set your assignment fees?
Oh, really, 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 really great question. So it is definitely going to be market specific, but I can give you some averages, right? The national average for an assignment fee across the United States right now is around $15,000. All right. Now that's, I would say, really a good number to shoot for. I don't always get $15,000 on my deals. Sometimes I make 10, sometimes I make 30, sometimes I make 40, but the average across the board is about 15K. But there's going to be some markets where it's going to be lower, like Indiana, for example. I don't think that I've seen assignments higher than $10,000 there, but they do more volume. And so you're definitely going to want to learn more about your market to determine what the assignment fee can be. In Los Angeles, for example, a $50,000 assignment fee is not even out of the question. It's not, people don't even blink an eye at a $50,000 assignment fee in LA. So You really, 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 really got to learn the market to understand what you need to set your assignment fee at. But then also buy deep, right? If you get a smashing deal, right? Like for instance, I just got a deal in Phoenix. It is a 3-bed, 2-bath house in Maryville, and I paid $245K for it. That is a smashing deal. Okay, that property can probably wholesale for about $290. Now, I'm not gonna undersell myself and sell that thing for a $15,000 assignment fee. No, I'm gonna go for the maximum that I can get on that because I bought it super deep. But do I get $245,000 3-bed, 2-bath houses in West Phoenix often? No, right? So can I expect that kind of fee all the time? Absolutely not. So it really is market specific, depends on the deal. Buy deep and learn where you're working, and that'll help you understand your assignment fee. But for the average in the US, it's $15K.
All right. So in general, I'm going in order. So you put your questions in. We're basically at the questions that people put at like 5:05. But this one came, and I selfishly want to know the answer real quick. What's the answer for Carson Walsh? What's a good volume look like for agent outreach? How many new agents per day or week, not including the usual monthly follow-ups?
Very, 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 very good question, Carson. Here's the rule of thumb that I use. Okay, it's 50 conversations a day. Now, that will be 50 new agent conversations until you start getting into your follow-up sequences, because as you start to do this business and do agent outreach, eventually you're going to need to start following up with them. And I think the cadence on follow-up should be every 2 weeks. Now, if you're following up with them every 2 weeks, then the first 50 that you contacted on day 1 are going to need to be contacted on day 14, right? See how that works? And so you're going to want to have a minimum of 50 conversations every single day. So if that includes some follow-ups, it should, but that's not going to start until you get a little bit down the line. That's why people use platforms like Astro Blaster, where they can automate their follow-up so that they can just spend their time making new connections, which I think is the smartest and fastest way to really scale and build. But if you're, limited in budget and you just want to do this with your cell phone, then that also works as well. So remember this, 50 conversations a day. You're going to start off with new conversations with new agents. And then after about the 14th day, so about 2 weeks, you're going to start doing follow-ups. Now, those follow-ups can be text messages. They don't need to be conversations where you're calling the agent again and having a full-blown conversation. You can really just text that agent and say, hey, remember me from a couple of weeks ago? Anything new that I can look at? And that will give you some time back from needing to have, those conversations. And I wouldn't count that as a conversation in that regard then. So just make sure 50 conversations a day and keep that consistently, Carson, and you can't fail. Look, somebody, a very close person in my life who it was wanting to learn how to wholesale, started doing her agent outreach just a few weeks ago and closed their first deal yesterday, like check in hand yesterday. And it's only agent outreach that she's doing. So, I mean, it's not only possible, but it's like a real thing. Get out there and get it done.
Oh. All right, back to alphabetical, numerical order. That's not the right word. Chronological. Okay, Nemo. How do I find deals and access wholesale contracts?
Oh, well, Nemo, I want to know what you mean by deals. Are you talking about wholesale deals? Are you looking for fix and flip deals? Like what position are you trying to be in the deal? If you're looking for wholesale deals, there's so many ways to find those, right? You can go direct to seller, which is the most common approach. That's where you get a list of potential homeowners that have some kind of distress, right? So people will look for a notice of default list, or they're a water utility cutoff list, or they'll look for an HOA violation or a city violation list, or bankruptcy, divorce, probate, whatever those are. And then you would skip trace those lists and get the people's phone number and then go to town cold calling them. That's one way to get your hands on some deals. Another way, which is my preferred way, which would be agent outreach. And that's where you're making connections with real estate agents and asking them if they have anything in original condition or needing a tremendous amount of work that they're about to list on the MLS that you can look at before they do. And that is more of a relationship approach. And that is really, I think, the smartest way to leverage relationships so that you don't have to always be doing lead generation, right? So, for example, one of the real estate agents that I work with, Monique Walker, her and I do roughly $1 million of business a year. Do you think I have to follow up with Monique every day? No. Monique sends me deals all the time without any need for follow-up. Why? Because we have an established relationship, and it goes very, very, very smoothly. So that's where deals come from. Now, wholesale contracts is a much easier solve. I can send you those. Bobby, what would be the best way for, there he just put a link in the chat. So right there, Jamil Damji, jdamji.com/freebies. You click on that, my friend, and I've got all the wholesale contracts you need there.
Which one, just curious, which one would be the first one? I think A to B. A to B is the one that you get and when you're reaching out to sellers directly, and that's the initial agreement. That's what you would do.
Correct. You would use an A to B. And however, if you're doing agent outreach, the agent will provide you the A to B. So you only use the A to B contract if you're going direct to seller. And then in order to assign your contract or move it to another buyer, you're going to use an assignment contract. And that's also in the freebie link that Bobby posted.
So there's a difference. I'm curious now that the A to B is for just going direct to seller. Agents, you're going to use the assignment contract.
Agents are going to use a state board approved PSA, purchase and sale agreement. So it's still an A to B contract, but it's going to come from the realtor. Realtors will never use our A to B contract. They're not allowed to. They have to use their board approved contracts. And so the AB contract will come from the agent on those deals.
Got it.
And the assignment, Bobby, the assignment's the same. So if you're going direct to seller, you're using the same assignment that you're using if you're assigning a deal you got from an agent.
And then exclusive option, that sounds like you're working with an agent.
No. So
seller?
An option could be used in the following ways. You could use an option if you're going direct to seller and the seller wants too much money. So you don't necessarily want to contract them at that price, but you want an option to be able to market the property to see if buyers are interested. And so that's what you use an exclusive option for. The other way that you use an exclusive option, which is one of my favorite ways, is when you're co-wholesaling. So when you are working with another wholesaler who has a deal under contract and they need some help finding a buyer, you would use I would say either an exclusive or a non-exclusive option agreement. Now, just so you know, I'm not a big fan of the exclusive option agreement. I don't think that
it feels bad for the relationship, right?
Yeah, many wholesalers don't want to get locked into an exclusive relationship with you because they're going to try to sell their deal themselves as well, right? The thing about co-wholesaling is we're here to help. Like if you've got a deal under contract that you can't sell or you're having a hard time selling and you come to me, cool, right? I don't feel good about trapping you, right? I want you to do what's best for you and to do what's best for the seller. Now, of course, I'm going to go out there and try to find a buyer for the deal myself. And if I do, then great, let's JV and do the deal together. But what happens? Let's say, for instance, you sign an exclusive option with me and I'm unsuccessful in finding a buyer. And then you have a deal and then you find a buyer for it. Now you're obligated to pay me, which I don't think is fair because I didn't do what I was supposed to do in finding a buyer. So that's why I don't feel like exclusive option agreements are really the best way. I think non-exclusive options are the thing to do. But look, I know that there are some key glees that require you to do an exclusive with them for like 3 days. right? Because they don't want to invest the time and the resources in marketing a deal if you're just gonna go out and sell it from underneath them. And so sometimes there's a hybrid in there where it makes sense for everybody. I think a 3-day exclusive, if you're dealing with a heavy hitter dispo company like Keeg Lee, I think that's fair. But if it's just another wholesaler that you're working with that is, as experienced as you, then I don't think an exclusive is really the way to go.
Makes sense. And guys, just so you know, this is jdamji.com/freebies. I put the link in the chat, and these are all the free stuff. I would say that the most common stuff to get would be the A to B, the assignment, and the appraisal rules.
Yes.
Those are the most popular things. And I see this question here, Clive. I'm really curious because StreamYard blocks you from putting your phone number directly in the chat. I think it might be a YouTube thing. You can
I think it is a YouTube thing.
You could do it as a code. Like you could put your phone number with X in between each number or something. Or you can just take that person's name and go find them on Facebook. That's Facebook, Instagram, wherever. Just get in touch with them that way. And I think I know Clive. I haven't met you in person. Cool. All right, enough screen sharing. Let's get out of here. And our next question will be from Wise Loves to Buy LLC. Jamil, I have a few creative deals that cash flow. Are you guys or anyone in the chat buying equity rights for a fee? And if so, where can I submit those deals?
Great stuff. So I personally am not, but I'm sure that there are people in the chat that are taking these kinds of deals on. So by all means, post some information on them in the chat here. I think that if they're cash flowing, which I know has been harder and harder and harder to do these days, just with the way things are in the market, then those would be pretty attractive to people. So I'm sure that right there we got Myron Briley in the chat, who by the way is awesome. They're out of Texas, and Myron said that they would happily look at any cash flowing deal that you have in Texas. So there you go.
Does buying equity rights mean you're like buying a percentage of, you're selling that house almost like a stock? A portion of that cash flow would become yours?
I'm a little confused of the term equity rights. I would imagine what he means is buying the property subject to, but I'm curious about what the term is, because it's not one that I necessarily use myself.
I never heard of it.
Yeah.
Zach Harkey says, I closed my first 2 deals this year before summer. Since then, I got 2 houses under contract, but wasn't able to close them. How do I consistently get properties that I can wholesale to a buyer?
Well, great question, Zach. Now, here's the thing. Summer is an interesting time of the year, right? Because what do you think buyers tend to do during the summer break? They go on holiday. They go on vacation. And summer vacation time has been notoriously slow at my business for the last 8 years, right? We always have a summer lull. And that's actually not a bad thing, because the summer lull also allows us to get really, 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 really good deals under contract, because that summer lull is not just in my business, it's on the MLS as well. It's in real estate in general. And so because there are fewer buyers at the table, anybody who has any urgency is going to be willing to negotiate at a deeper level in the summer. And just as Jason just said in the chat, holidays as well, right? And so right now, I think the thing that you needed to do, Zach, is I think you probably got those deals under contract a little bit too high for the buying pool during the summer. Because those buyers that are like diehards that just want a great deal and they work all summer long, they will be interested in a deal that's just really dang good. So what I typically do, Zach, is I make sure my numbers are on point. I check in with my buyers as well, right? So if I'm going to be wholesaling during the summertime or during the holidays, I'll check in with my buyers and say, hey, where are you guys at right now? Are you guys buying anything? What are you guys in the middle of? What do you need? And I find out what they're looking for. And I just keep that top of mind when I'm out there searching for homes, because then I'd be like, oh yeah, I remember Jack is looking for a pad split. Okay, I need to go I'm going to start focusing my attention right now on properties in the west side of Phoenix or in South Phoenix that are on big lots that have the ability for me to make additions on them so that they could be a great pad split. And so I'll be out there hustling that kind of opportunity because I know I've got a buyer looking right now for that. Right. So it's a, definitely you want to check in with your buyers, but then also during the summertime and in the holidays, just get a little deeper, just buy a little bit deeper because it's going to make all the difference.
Zenobia asks, what's cold calls?
Oh, great question. Well, it's the opposite of warm calls.
What's a warm call?
Okay. Well, a cold call means that you don't know the person that you're calling and they don't know you. It's a cold introduction, right? And a cold introduction means that you're going to need to establish rapport and trust really, really fast, or you're going to get hung up on, right? If you think about it, when you receive a solicitation call, how do you respond, right? Are you fast? Are you quick to get off the phone? Are you rude, or do you listen? And if when you do listen, what makes you listen to somebody? What are the things that they say right out the gate that will take you and capture your attention so that you'll continue on the phone? Now, Bobby and I actually, if you right, this handsome man right over here, him and I have done some cold calling together where Bobby was on the phone and Bobby is my media manager. So he's not on the phone wholesaling. That's not his primary role in our world. His role is managing my whole media world, right? And so he's got a bunch of other things that are stuff that he needs to do, but he's curious. And because he's around me all the time, he's like, I want to try this. So we've done multiple videos where Bobby just gets on the phone and starts talking to homeowners. I would actually, if you have never done it before, watch them, right? It'll demystify the process. It'll show you, oh man, this isn't like all that. It's not that scary. Yeah, I could do this. So yeah, give those some watches. And then also Brent Daniels, Jerry Norton, Pace Morby, they all do the same thing, right? They've got incredible videos on their YouTube channels where they're making seller calls. I know Pace has an entire library of seller calls as well, Jerry Norton, Brent Daniels. And so you can learn from all four of us how we make and approach cold calls and then do what you got to do.
Boom. Okay, this one I feel like you could do in 10 seconds or less. What is the best way to find out properties off market? Find off market properties.
Well, for me, best way to find off market properties is to call real estate agents and find out if they have anything coming to market that hasn't been listed on the market yet that I could take a look at before they list it. And the second thing that I would be doing is networking with wholesalers who have properties under contract. And I would be seeing if anything that they have makes sense. And then if I'm really, really, really interested in getting my feelings hurt, then I would get a list and I would start calling homeowners right at dinner time.
Right at dinner time. All right. Angel A says, how do you find buyers for rural properties?
Oh, I don't. Angel, here's the reality, okay? I'm not saying that there's not a buyer for a rural property. Okay, there's going to be, but it's like finding a needle in the haystack, right? The reality is that unless there's a lot of activity in that rural area, which again, let me make sure that I'm being, I'm fleshing this out. Let's take a market in Arizona, for example, right? Flagstaff, maybe, would you consider Flagstaff rural, Bobby?
Ish,
right?
The outskirts of it, sure, yeah.
Right, so we've got this we got an area north of Phoenix called Flagstaff, rural-ish. There's a lot of buyer activity out there. So would I look for buyers out there? Absolutely. But if I'm in the sticks, out in the middle of butt F nowhere, right, that there's no comps for, that's going to mean there's no buyers for that, right? And so if I can't find comps, I can't find buyers, then why am I looking there for opportunities? So Angel, that's the main thing for you to think about is there buyer activity here? Are people actually doing business here? And if there are, join me Monday at noon PST, where we'll be using a great tool called Privy, and we're going to be showing you how to find buyers. And Angel, we will look at rural areas as well so that you can learn how to find a rural buyer if you are really hell-bent on doing so.
Alrighty. Hey, Jamil, is Keekly currently displaying commercial deals?
Hey, David, it depends, right? In some markets we do. In Phoenix, for instance, every once in a while we get a commercial deal and we wholesale it and we do great with it. But the majority of our buyers are residential flippers, residential landlords, and just residential institutions looking for that asset class. So right now, we don't have a ton of commercial deals in our inventory. I don't think there's any in my corporate stores right now that we're wholesaling, but I have wholesaled them. I mean, I wholesaled a bank once, made $50,000 on it, which was dope. But, you know, it was a really specific buyer. The guy who bought it from me, he ended up wanting to turn it into a restaurant, and he was going to make the vault in the bank the private dining room. Now, here's the funny thing. He never opened the restaurant. But a very specific buyer nonetheless, right? So, yeah, David, for commercial buyers, I would say commercial agents are going to be your best bet. So here's what my trick would be. If I'm looking at an industrial site, or if I'm looking at an office building or medical, whatever that is, I would start at one of the larger commercial real estate brokerages, and I would ask the real estate agents there who they know is an expert in industrial in their brokerage. And oftentimes what those agents will do is they'll refer you to other agents that are specializing in that specific type of asset class. Then what I would do is I would call the agent who is specializing in that asset class, and I'd ask them questions, and I would let them know that I have access to this type of deal, and I'd be wondering or interested in working with them to help find a buyer for it. Now, you'll find out, David, that there are a lot of these commercial guys, they're very, 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 very astute when it comes to wholesaling, because a lot of the businesses that purchase land, they wholesale all the time. I once wholesaled a property to D.R. Horton, a nationally publicly traded home builder, and they wholesaled a big portion of the land that I sold to them to another builder, and it wasn't even a thing. Like nobody even batted an eye at the fact that they had done that, and they made hundreds of thousands of dollars on that wholesale fee. So, but again, it was a commercial real estate agent that I was working through to get to D.R. Horton. So now you see where the breadcrumbs are, right? Commercial agents are going to find you the commercial buyers.
Solid. All right. Maui Kid, what % return do you look for in your flips in Phoenix?
Hey, that's a great question, Maui Kid. So I'm usually looking at about 10% of my final sale price. So if I'm going to be selling a house at $500,000, I want to make 50 grand on the deal. If I'm going to be selling the house for like 400 grand, I want to make 40 grand on the deal. If I'm going to be selling the house for $1 million, I'm going to be trying to make 100 grand on the deal, right? So, and why is that? Because it's a greater risk, which means that I'm going to be having greater capital outlay. And so my profit margin needs to be higher in order for me to take that risk on. So 10% of what my final sale price will be. That's a pretty good rule of thumb for most fix and flippers.
Anthony Perez. Man, I'm seeing some names that I recognize. Okay, I'm working a deal with an agent, and he said the offer needs to have at least a 5K EMD, and there's no inspection contingency. I understand that Florida is a mutual release state. What would I need to do? First of all, what does that mean, the mutual release state?
Great. All of this stuff is awesome, by the way. Anthony, great question. Thanks for bringing it here to Wholesale Hotline. These are the kinds of questions that we like to answer because you could be stepping into a landmine over here. Here's why, okay? When the agent says to you, no inspection contingency, that means that 5,000 EMD is non-refundable. Doesn't matter if it's mutual release, you're not getting it back. because there's no inspection period. So you have to fight for that inspection period or don't do the deal. That's pretty much what you've got to do, right? Now, with respect to mutual release state is where both buyer and seller have to agree to the cancellation, which in my opinion is balls, right? Because if I'm contracting a property in Florida, which is a mutual release state, I will always strike that in my contract, and I will write in buyer has sole discretion on canceling the contract, unilateral discretion on canceling the contract. And so I don't have to fight with sellers to get my EMD back. And I will do that all the time. In any mutual release state, I will absolutely add that verbiage because I do not want to have a fight with a seller if I have to cancel for whatever reason. And guys, cancellations happen. Not because look, I cancel deals every once in a while, not because I lock them up too high, but because when I get in, it is not what the seller had represented to me. It is not what the agent had said was going to be there, right? They sometimes I'll talk to a real estate agent and the person will say, yeah, maybe it needs $10,000 or $15,000 in remodel. And you get in there and it needs like $80,000 in remodel, right? Well, that's not the same thing. A $10,000 or $15,000 remodel, I don't even think really exists these days. But if you're saying this is $10,000 or $15,000 and I get in there and my contractor bid comes back at $80K, you misrepresented the condition of the home, right? And if that happens and I cancel the contract, I don't want to have to then fight for my earnest money back. So I'll always have a unilateral release clause in my contract where I'll strike that mutual release. But in the circumstance that you're talking about right now, my brother, there is no inspection contingency. So you're going to have to fight for the IP.
And just Rob, in the chat, I see you talking. When I type on my end, since I'm the host, it's going to come through as Pace, but Pace isn't in here. So that's me commenting as Pace and Jerry and Jamil.
We don't have Brent in there.
He should be.
Oh.
He's not, though.
Yeah, weird, right?
That is weird. Huh.
Well,
all right.
Sorry, TTP fan.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get that straightened out before next week. But
100%.
we'll take a couple more here, and then I want to let my boy go here to enjoy the rest of his Labor Day, and all of you guys to go enjoy the rest of your Labor Days as well.
All right. I'm just going to pick some. Well, first, shout out to Aspire coming up. You guys should go to that.
Heck yeah. Of course, go see Pace if you guys are in Phoenix, Arizona, and you're going to go to the Aspire event. And if you need more details on it, it looks like Ingrid has them. So reach out to that incredible woman there to get more details on Aspire.
We were talking about wholesale regulations coming up.
Nothing that I've seen in Connecticut. No whispers of regulations coming up in Connecticut either. So far, so good.
And then Woman of Wow, there's no registration required for this Privy live stream. Just going to be an educational thing for 4 hours next Monday.
No registration required. Nothing will be sold. It's really just an educate. Guys, I've been away for a couple of weeks at Burning Man, and I miss you guys. Like, I legit miss working. I miss being with the community. I'm so happy that so many of you guys showed up. What's our audience count at today? I can't even see it.
300.
I'm so grateful that 300 of you showed up today on Labor Day. And it just makes me feel great because I've, again, like genuinely missed all of you guys. And I live for this stuff. I super enjoy answering questions about real estate and wholesaling and getting to hang out with my boy Bobby and getting to hang out with all of you. So join me on Monday, September 9th at noon on my YouTube channel. Again, the 300 of you that are here, if you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, you should subscribe to it. And you should absolutely show up at noon Pacific and come learn all the things that you can do with that wonderful tool, Privy.
Yeah. And so when you just go to that link, it's not like an event link or anything. I'm just sending you to Jamil's YouTube, and you can hit subscribe, but then there's another little bell next to it that you can hit, and that'll notify you whenever we go live. So you won't miss it, and just put it on your schedule for noon to come in and hang out and learn.
That's
Should a wholesaler JV on their first deal? What do you think?
I think so. I think that if you are, I mean, if you're brand new and you don't have relationships with buyers, I think that, you should absolutely JV. Relationships are the key to this business, man. When you have the mindset that I want to make all the money in the deal, or if I do this by myself, I'm going to make more. Yeah, that's true. But what ends up happening is you typically cancel instead of even selling the deal because your relationships aren't deep enough yet. You don't have enough buyers. And so I think it's really important to JV the first, however many of your deals. Pace Morby JV'd his first 100 deals with me, right? His first 100 deals. He was like, buyers are for the birds, dog. I ain't even trying for that. He wanted to do what his superpower was, which was get in front of sellers and solve problems, right? And he knew my superpower was running numbers and connecting with buyers. And so he just let me do what I did best, and he went and did what he did best. And 100 deals later, he figured out how to get some of his own buyers. But he had the money at that point to go and do whatever the hell he wanted, right? So I would say the best thing to do in the beginning is JV because it expands your network. Right now, last thing, the relationship that Pace and I built over those 100 deals led to the relationship that you see him and I have now, right? Think of that, right? Our relationship has blossomed and flourished, and so many cool things have come out of it, including the Astro and Subto communities. And so these relationships are important. Don't think about them as just being a deal. That person that you JV with could be your road dog, could end up becoming your best friend. They might even become your spouse. So get out there, make relationships with people. If that means JVing and splitting a deal with somebody so that they bring a buyer to the table, or you bring a contract to the table, whatever that looks like, I think it's one of the most important things to do in this business because your relationships are going to save you when times get tough.
Yeah. So JV. And I want to say 50% of something is much better than 100% of nothing. So it works. I want to try this one, Jamil. How should I handle a seller starting to ghost me after signing a PSA when we're already at title? First of all, what's a PSA?
PSA is a purchase and sale agreement.
Oh, okay. Got it. I would say with humor.
Yeah. So that's it. Here's the reality, right? You can't force a seller to title. Now, since they've already signed a PSA with you, if you've disclosed in your PSA that you are going to file a memorandum, because in some states, if you file a memorandum and you didn't disclose it on your PSA, you could be like breaking the law. So if you disclosed that you're going to file a memorandum, you can file a memorandum at land title. Your title company could do it for you. That's just where you record the contract against the title of the property. Now, what that does is if that seller goes to sell that property to someone else, they won't be able to do it because you're going to have clouded title. But that's a last resort move, Howard. I think with the way Bobby described it is like really your best step. Like, do I have bad breath or something? Or, I don't know, whatever you want. Say something that's funny. Say something that, will get a smile out of them and bring them back to the conversation. Here's what I think happened. Okay. I think, Howard, somebody else got a hold of your seller and offered them more money. And now your seller is trying to be shady and sell it to someone else. And so it's really important that on your PSAs, you have a disclosure that allows you to record a memorandum because it happens. It happens more often than it should. But that memorandum will protect that, and it'll make the seller have to deal with your contract either now or at some time in the future. And when I do that, when I do record a memorandum, I let a seller know if they start ghosting me, or if I am working with an agent, I let the agent know, hey guys, we signed a legally binding contract and we have to continue going down the path of selling this. Otherwise, I have to go to the next step, which is specific performance. Now, when I sue you for specific performance, what'll happen is I'll win because I have this contract, and every dime that I spent to get that to court and to get the judgment will come out of your equity. So if somebody's offering you more money, tell me what's going on so that you and I can come to an agreement. Now, maybe this means that you have to pay them a little bit more money to come back to the table. But the reality is I'd rather pay a seller $5,000 more money on a deal and get the deal done than have to go through the whole recording of the memorandum and then have to go to court and then have to force a specific performance action, because all of that, guys, is expensive and it's a pain in the butt and it's just bad juju, right? So try not to do that.
We're going to go speed round. Can you record a memorandum as soon as you get in a contract? And please, what is a memorandum?
Memorandum is just a cloud on title, right? So it's just recording a contract against the title. And you can do it as soon as you get a contract signed, if you have disclosed it in your contract that you intend to do so.
So it's literally just like remembering that your guys' names were on this deal-ish.
Correct.
Okay. And then this one I was very curious about. Trayvon says, if you had to start over, Jamil, would you just find one active fix and flipper and work with them closely? Or would you look for
No, Trevon. I think it's Trevon. Trevon, no, bro. You never want to do that. You never want to just rely on one buyer. Life happens. You know, I've had buyers that were really good buyers of mine get divorced, and they're like, dog, I ain't doing nothing right now until my divorce is done. I've had buyers move, right? They're like, hey, man, I can't stand the heat here in Arizona. I'm leaving. I'm moving to California, and I'm not flipping in AZ anymore. The thing that I'm trying to say to you here is don't put your eggs in one basket. Life changes. And when you have one person that you're depending on for your money, and then they have a circumstance that gets you, out of business with them, that sucks. And that could really hurt you. Right? You gotta expand that. You gotta expand that out, not just work with one.
So a new person here, where do we get the LLC started? Where do you think is the best directions on how to get into wholesaling, start to finish?
Well, I think really understanding what the concepts of wholesaling are first, like what is wholesaling, right? Wholesaling is selling potential. It can't be more simple than that. And that means that the kind of houses we're looking for have to have some potential in them. And that means that we are going to renovate them, or they're fantastic rentals and we got a really great price, but there's a potential there. And that potential is what I'm selling. Now, as a wholesaler, I just take a little bit of that potential and I keep it for myself as my fee. And then that other investor goes and realizes the rest of the potential for them, right? So you need to understand that stuff. But outside of that, then, choosing a market, setting up an LLC. For me, my favorite organization to use for setting up LLCs is Prime Corporate Services. You can go to, I think, primecorporateservices.com/Jamil and get a little discount or something, or whatever it is, and they'll help you out. But that's where I would go set up an LLC. And then I would learn next, comping. You can watch Straight Outta Comping on my YouTube channel. Those will be resuming again here actually, they've been going. But Straight Outta Comping on my YouTube channel is one of the best ways to learn how to value properties. And then I would start doing some lead generation, right? So getting some deals under contract, really starting to have conversations either with sellers or real estate agents or wholesalers, whatever your method is going to be, and connecting to a dispo wholesaler, right out the gate. I don't think it's super advisable to try to do all of it. So connect to a dispo wholesaler like my company, Keegley, or there's my competitors, New Western or Net Worth Realty. You decide who you want to kind of align with. There's lots of opportunities to work with dispo companies out there. But that's what I would do.
Yeah. And just like, I don't know. You don't know what they know. And it's like dispo. I remember not knowing what dispo is, but you find a deal, and then dispo just means to disposition the thing. So this is a person who can connect you to the person who's going to buy that contract. Anyways, last one.
Okay.
How would you respond to a seller asking what company you work for? And what are examples of additional terms to add to a contract?
Oh, great question, Amani. So I would tell the seller the name of my company, which is Keegley. Now, if you don't have an LLC yet, then I would be honest. I would tell them, hey, I'm just a single investor here and I buy properties in my own name. And you can say that, right? I think the honesty approach is always the best way. Pretending and perpetrating like you're something you're not is not a good thing. You could connect or JV with my company, and then you could leverage my brand reputation and recognition. So that could be something you could do. Like if you, for instance, worked with my corporate store or one of my franchises, Amani, you could say, hey, what if I bring you the lead? Can you go contract it? Because this seller is really wanting to work with a big company, then we would, of course, do that. And then we would JV that deal with you, right? So there's creative ways that you can get around if you don't have like a company resume or if you don't have company history. But I wouldn't get stuck in that. I don't think you need to get stuck in the fiction that you have to be this, massive business or massive company to be useful to a seller. I don't think that's true. I think if you can come in and solve a problem, and if you can build rapport, and if you can be just a good person, like just be a good person and really want to help those people, I think that they'll want to work with you. And that's how business is done. So, don't get caught in the lie that you need to have this massive organization and all these accolades under you in order to be successful. It's just not true. I remember my first deal. I didn't have anything under my belt and it worked. And of course I, in my mind, had the same limits as you are having right now, thinking who's going to want to work with me? I've done nothing, but none of that was true. Those were just stories and fictions that I made in my head. So yeah, don't think about the stuff that's a hallucination.
Bada bing, bada boom. They keep coming in. I'm down to do a couple more if you are.
Yeah, let's go.
This one, I was like, I want to try and answer that one because the whole business is relationships. It's nothing crazy. And the way you get over that fear is just make a couple friends who are doing it. And then you have somebody to lean on when you run into an issue and make imperfect action. And then you can improve from there. But you're never going to be perfect. So just start,
100% agree. And let me tell you something else, Michael, is that the reality is even if you do learn everything that you need to know, your brain is going to sabotage you and put thoughts in your head that are going to make you feel like you don't know enough, because that's what the subconscious mind does to us when we do something risky. That's what our subconscious mind does to us when it thinks that it's in jeopardy of failing something or the ego being damaged in some way. So don't be a slave to this idea of perfection. It doesn't exist. Right? It just doesn't exist. You are going to learn as you do. That's how people learn. You learn as you do. Look, Michael, you've had a first job, I imagine, or you've gone to work before and had a first day at that job. Let me ask Bobby this question. Bobby, outside of working with me, because you brought a bunch of knowledge. Have you had a job in the world before?
Yes.
Okay. So in that job in the world, like a corporate job, like corporation, like where there are other people. Okay. So did they give you stuff to read or things to learn before you started your first day?
Yeah, you always got a little bit of training before.
Did any of that like stick?
No.
Okay. When you got to work on day one and you sat down beside somebody that was doing the job, is that when you figured out what to do?
Yeah, you learn by doing. And you have to be willing to suck. That clicked in my head not too long ago. It's just like, you're never going to get good at anything if you're not willing to be sucky at it. That's part of it.
That's facts, man. Yeah. Like you were going to suck at, like, guys, for instance, okay. I sucked at Burning Man, right? Like I did, but I tried my ass off, right? I really did. But I was in bed by 10 most nights. Like I'm not that guy. I'm 45 years old. I'm a dad. right? I didn't, I don't do the all night dancing and like that's not me. But I did a different Burning Man. I did the daytime Burning Man where you meditate and do breath work and contemplate and look at things that are uncomfortable in yourself. But I definitely sucked at it, right? But I enjoyed it because I loved learning. And so, Michael, you got to just fall in love with the process here, bro. If you fall in love with the process and you really enjoy real estate, then sucking isn't going to be hard for you.
And here's the thing about that, dude. You're going to have to go back next year, so you suck less at Burning Man.
Yeah, right?
Great. You're going to have to go every year.
Do I?
Yeah, you got to go.
Oh,
if it's working for this analogy and he's going to become a successful wholesaler, you have to become a good Burning Manner.
Oh, my God. I think they're called burners, Bobby.
Burners.
Yeah.
Burning Manerners.
Yeah.
Eddie says, when it comes to dealing with auction properties, would you think it's safe to do one with an auction below 30 days?
Of course. Of course. Look, Eddie, you can deal with an auction property that's 1 day away from auction. You want to know why? Because you can postpone an auction. And I think Pace has, multiple videos on his YouTube channel that talk about how to postpone an auction date. So you can absolutely do that. And usually, if you can't find one of the videos, it's as simple as getting a hold of the trustee and letting them know that you're in contract to purchase the property, and they will likely postpone that auction date. So the lender doesn't want to foreclose. Just so you know, lenders aren't in the business of owning property. They're in the business of lending money to people who own properties. They don't want to be a property manager. They wanted you to pay your bill, right? They wanted you to make your payment. And so they would happily postpone an auction if it meant that they were going to get their money out and they were going to get paid out and not have to take a loss. So I'm sure there's videos on Pace's YouTube you can find for that, Eddie. But yeah, you can absolutely deal with an auction property below 30 days. No problem.
I want to try this one, and you correct me where I'm wrong.
Sure.
I think if you think of a dispo company, it's a company has to become a company. At first, it's just a person, and that person has great relationships with people who are interested in buying at a discounted rate to do a fix and flip or to hold or whatever. People who want to buy real estate and have the capital to do it. So you get those great relationships, and that's your product. And you can talk to other wholesalers, and when they find deals, because their product is somebody who wants to sell their house, and you're just magically connecting the dots. But you eventually build a conveyor belt of that systems and processes to where things are automated, emails are coming, and then it automatically gets sent out to potential buyers. And then that's you as a dispo company, and you take a percentage of the wholesale fee.
Absolutely. That's, very, very in depth, I think, Bobby. Another analogy that I would use is it's like the relationship between Prince and Sony, right? Prince was the artist out there making the music, doing the things, recording the songs, and Sony did the distribution. And that's what a dispo company does. It distributes your wholesale deals to the buyers for it, to the people who want it. And then you both make money. And so that's, for me, the easiest analogy was one's the artist, one's the distributor.
Yeah. And I don't know if the masterclass is going to be recorded. If you can make it, you can come. We might hold it back, or we might not.
I really don't want to record it. Honestly, I really want people to show up for it, because when I get your input on the spot, it's super helpful. And then I can answer specific questions that you have. So Farrell or Pharrell or Farrelly, what do you think, Bobby? What's the name? Farrell? Farrell?
like Carl Farrell. It's probably Pharrell. I don't know.
But yeah, I would try to make it. Oh, and look, we've been pronouncing Edie's name wrong. It's not Eddie, it's Ed.
Edie. That makes sense.
Yep.
I like this one because I've heard several different answers of it. Day one, I'm a wholesaler. What am I doing? I think I'm on the phones or texting. I'm talking to agents.
I think day one, I want to figure out, where am I working? Right? What market am I in? Am I in the right market? Do I live in the right market? Do I need to choose a virtual market? I'd figure out my market first. And then the second thing I do is I'd start connecting with some people in that market. And then I'd start wanting to learn a little bit about the market, right? Like what are the areas, what kind of properties, what's the median sale price? And once
you're connecting with somebody in that market, sorry to interrupt. When you say you're connecting with somebody in that market, who are you talking about? Are you talking about agents or other wholesalers? And how do you get their info?
I would say right out the gate, other wholesalers before agents, because agents can, like, you have to have a little bit of, you need to have some confidence, and you need to understand terms and, you know, a few things before I would venture on to start calling a realtor. You got about, you know, 3 or 4 days of things to learn before it's safe to start calling agents. It's not a ton of stuff. They're not rocket scientists. But wholesalers, bro, this community is so open and helpful and loving. You can find people in the chat right now that would be interested in communicating with you and helping you out. That's the beauty of what we're doing here. There's just so many people that want to be helpful. It's beautiful.
Boom. And yes, Carlos, we do it 2 times a week on a show called Straight Outta Compton on Jamil's YouTube channel.
Boom.
Are there any general questions to ask a homeowner when door knocking pre-foreclosures?
Well, you know, one of the things that for me is important is establishing some rapport and some trust, right? And so I would want to first find out if they have any interest in selling their home. I wouldn't walk up to the door and be like, hey, you're in foreclosure and I'm here to save you. You know, like we're not that guy, right? But you want to get in there and you want to be a normal person and say, hey, you know, I'm actually looking for some properties to purchase. I'm an investor and I wanted to stop by here to see if you might be interested in selling this house. And then start asking questions, right? Find the bunnies, just as we have here in the chat. And what does that mean, finding the bunnies? Everyone has a problem they're trying to solve when they're forced to sell a house. That's the reality, right? Everybody's got a problem they're trying to solve. And so the trick is to find the solution to that problem. And when you can find the solution to that problem, you're going to build trust, you're going to build rapport, and you're going to do business.
Does Keekly work with beginners?
Abso-frickin-lutely.
Yes. Are there any stipulations for wholesaling in Houston?
Wear water boots.
Can you do, well, actually, I mean, there doesn't sound like there is. Is there any crazy regulations in Texas or anything? No. Somebody asked earlier, and I didn't put it on here. Somebody said, what are the top 5 states for virtual wholesaling? Can I play?
Yeah. Yeah.
Arizona.
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah.
California. I don't think that's right. Arizona, Florida. And then I was going to say Texas was going to be my other one. Yeah. New Jersey. I don't know about the East Coast.
Texas is great. North Carolina is phenomenal as well. Those would be states that I would definitely start in. And guys, California is amazing. It's a myth. It's a myth that there's not a lot of great deals out there, that there's not a lot of business being done. I have so many successful wholesalers in the Astro community doing deals in Southern California. You should have been at the meetup that we just had out there. They're rocking and rolling out there.
This one feels a little bit more extensive, but we got a couple minutes left if you want to put that down.
Do I need an agent to represent me as a wholesaler? Absolutely not. How does the process go when buying on market? Well, I'm going to call a realtor and I'm going to look for houses that have some age on them. So I'm looking for something that's like 30, 60, 90, 120 days on market, because now I know the house is overpriced and the seller is going to be ready to negotiate. So I'm going to be calling that real estate agent and I'm going to be trying to find out what's going on, you know, what they know about the property. And I'll be starting to plant the seeds of the fact that the house is overpriced and that I'm going to be coming in with a cash offer that's going to be below list, and wanting to know if the seller is open to negotiating at this point, since it hasn't sold after so long. So, you know, that's how that process would start.
How much is it to start with Astro?
You know, there's a number of ways to be involved. You could join the Astro Blaster community, which you know, is a very, very inexpensive way to get into the game. There is also the full-blown Astro Flipping mentorship, which is a little bit more. It's a, you know, it's a little bit north of $5,000, but it's a lifetime community, right? So if you ever want to learn more about it, you can join in. Talk to people though. My suggestion is talk to people who have gone through the Astro community and ask them their opinion on it, right? See if it makes sense for you, and if it does, would love to have you. And
that's a pretty good ending point right there.
My man. Bobby, happy Labor Day, bro.
Happy Labor Day, dude.
And to the rest of you that are all here today joining us from wherever you are in the United States, enjoy your family, go kiss the people that you love, and get started, right? There's no better time than now to do this. Wholesaling is a phenomenal way to gain financial freedom. I see people changing their lives all the time. They come in and they go from, you know, $15, $20 an hour positions in their job to making $20,000, $30,000 a month in the first 90 days. And they never look back. I think that's just one of the most beautiful things to be able to do for yourself, is to give yourself the freedom of your finances and to be able to get out there and have a good life. So get started, get working, and connect with people. And until then, next week, we're Wholesale Hotline. This is 234 for Brent Daniels, Pace Morby, Jerry Norton, and myself, and Bobby Canode. We'll see you again soon.
Adios.
Or just say squat up.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
What are you doing?
I didn't say nothing.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Cool. I think we should use the one where Jamil doesn't say anything.